And so the question is, what does it take to have a mature husband?
Mm.
Because you can be a mature man, but an immature husband, meaning you don't have all the gardening skills.
Right.
So you don't know how to take care of a wife.
All right, boys and girls, all the way around the world, this is Marriage Matters. And if you notice lately, we have been in a season of being reactive. And as we are being reactive, it's hopefully to make you proactive, all right, in your relationship and marriage. And we're just grateful to be back with another one today. So we definitely got another video today that we want to react to, and it's quite it's long. So we've been marking out certain parts that we can take to converse around and to share with you some of our thoughts on it, and hopefully you can glean from it. And I invite you again to think with us and to ponder with us and to see what you can grab and apply to your context of relationship and marriage. I am Shane, and on the other end is...
I'm Sylburn.
All right. To make the most of our time, I'm going to ask you to get right into the first marker that we got lined up. And I'm super excited about this one, but let's go. Let's get right into it.
Bro. Yeah. They lied to us, bro. Yeah. There is no magic in the soulmate. The only magic is in the labor. Yeah.
Hey. Right off the bat. The rom-coms, they lie to us. Okay. There's no magic in the soulmate. The magic, the results, the fruition and the manifestation is in the labor. Yep. My brother, man, go ahead and like a golfer who puts their tee in the ground and lines up. Take a swing, man.
Yeah, in this one, it's something that I completely agree with. These guys, they are talking a lot of sense. And it's a little different message than what you would usually hear.
Right.
And so that's very good. Especially when you look at what they're saying rom-com, but all the movies and all the little Disney shows, there's this starry-eyed, and you end up with the girl, or the girl ends up with the boy, and it's happily ever after. But then you see the nursery rhyme book closes, the little story tale book closes, and reality hits in. And so I like what they're saying here, that it's nothing about soulmate. You can meet your soulmate and have the most sour relationship, the most toxic relationship, because everybody believes that chemical that flow when you meet someone and you're excited and oh, you can't wait to get in bed. Everybody feels that is soulmate. Oh, you just finished answering my questions. Yeah, you complete my statements, my sentences.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not a soulmate. Yeah. That's not a soulmate. And there's nothing more misleading than soulmate. Because let me tell you what soulmate does. Soulmate, when you have this mentality that there's a soulmate, you leave your brains at the door. You leave your thinking at the door. And this is especially dangerous. This is especially harmful or negative towards females. You can't leave your brain at the door. Not even the eagle leaves its brain there. If you believe this person is a soulmate, you drop your guard. You drop your evaluating skills. Now, if you believe they're soulmates, no problem. You can believe anything you want. That's fine. What is not fine is not investigating. A soulmate is not important. A man that is trained on how to be a good husband, that is important. And you, woman, be careful how you choose.
Right. You know, I think one of the things that I'm thinking over this side, and I'm telling you from personal experience, if you have, or let me say it in the context of what he's saying, the romantic comedies, the movies, give a false expectation. It paints a false reality.
Yeah.
And if you go into marriage. Actually, what a lot of these movies does, it shows you all the work and the wrestle before the marriage or the happily ever after, and it emphasizes the work and the labor before, and then it says, all right, when you get married, that's it. That's a lot of what these movies do. And then if we are taking this as a philosophy to live by, then we have a very, very false expectation. We have a very false reality of what marriage is, what relationships take. And so if you're entering into such an institution as marriage with that expectation that's false and faulty and a false reality, you are going to end up terribly disappointed. And so I think it's a very fresh perspective for us to understand that it's work.
Work.
It's actually, and let me also say that I think, we're not here painting a dread picture of marriage, because I'll tell you, when I wanted to get married, when I began to express interest in my wife, and at that time I had several mentors, and I think in love, and I think with all great intention, there were, it's almost like you sure you want to don't get married. And I understand that they were trying to help me to understand the gravity of what I was getting into, and I think that is fine, right? There is a weight and a gravity to marriage, but
of course,
I think on the other side, we have to be careful that we are not painting marriage to be the most awful thing on earth. And I think it comes off. That's another extreme we can go, and that's not what we're saying. But what I want to say is, it is work, but it's the greatest. I think it's one of the greatest work you can give yourself to. It's one of the most rewarding thing. You will grow to get. I mean, I don't even know. It's a good work. It's a good way to, so when it talks about the magic isn't in the soulmate, it's in the labor. I just want to say, it's not to tell you, man, it's the worst thing. It's actually a great place for you to grow as a person. Yeah,
of course.
So,
I'm trying to think in these guys' podcast. They spoke about planes, so I'd like to stay on the topic of planes just for a bit. And as you said before, the work before is all they show you. And the problem is not just the work that happens before. The problem is, are you doing the right work? Because working to get somebody to fall in love with you as a man is not the same as working and learning how to become a good husband. To become a good husband, not just a husband. A good husband takes a different type of work than to get somebody to fall in love with you. You can do that by selling them dreams, taking them out on a couple date. But in no way is this an indication of how good of a husband you are. So if you take it to the plane and you have somebody, they are looking at, oh my, what this plane can do for me. I'll enjoy just flying it all over the skies.
Right.
I will make a lot of money from it. And someone comes and say, you need to do training on it. And the person, I'm not interested in it. I just want to know how to fly it while it's in the air. And they don't learn how to land the plane. They don't learn how to take off, which these are the two most dangerous parts of flying. Would you want to get in a plane with that person? And he could put in all the love and attention and affection in making sure his salary is set, his bank account is set. He can fly it while it's in the air, but has no clue how to land or to take off, which basically would be the two most dangerous parts of flying. What will happen?
Yeah.
And so many women are in relationships with men that they have no accountability structure. They listen to themselves, and they don't know how to fly, how to land, or how to take off. That's a problem.
That is a problem. That is a problem, and I think it's funny. I was just recently, and I'll probably it's the last thing I'll share at this point, and I'll give it to you to go over to the next marker. But I was giving advice just recently to some young people, and a question came up when it comes to a girl and an older guy, right? Like way older, and I said, so tell me, what is it that you give me two things that you like about this guy, right? That you're considering, and so they shared, and one of them, I got treats her well, and he looks handsome, I guess, right? So I said, okay. So I said, well, what I want to tell you is to get you thinking that this age difference that you have, there's a certain window where a man can still look young for a time and look vibrant. But I want you to think about what it would be like when you're his age, what age he will be. If you're thinking like, are you thinking this way? Are you thinking like that? And it comes back to one of our points that we made in the last episode. I want to reemphasize it here, that like the eagle who went to that extent to test is because she is thinking long term. She's thinking in the future. She's not just thinking about happy here and now, googly eyed. She's thinking about, you got to hold this nest down. You got to be able to protect and provide. We're in this for the long haul, and I'm not committing myself to a fool. I'm committing to myself to somebody who is worthwhile and who can make it happen. And so I said to say us to add here at this point, and on your point, it's not just about the feeling in the now. It's about the future and the commitment. It's about longevity. And I think the labor that we're talking about, it's a labor for longevity, guys. So yeah.
Right. So it takes a willingness to learn, and then it takes the knowledge of what to do and how to do it.
Right.
And it takes practice. So these are the three things that are required. And that's why I like the next section of the video here, because it's an advice to males. You ready for it?
Let's go.
Of the garden, and then blame on everything else. Parents, most of us can see this in our lives, in our own families. Not maybe, hopefully not in our own marriages, but we can see in the marriages that we might have grew up in because we were our parents. I mean, we were living with our parents.
Yeah.
We often see wild negligence of the garden and then blame on everything else except our gardening skills. So I think it's important for us to not draw a one-to-one kind of, don't make a beeline from marriage didn't work for me, marriage didn't work for people that I know, therefore marriage doesn't work.
All right.
The work in marriage. But now this other point is talking about marriage doesn't work. Like, so we've been laboring on the first point of that it takes work for a marriage to function. But no, the argument that he's bringing here, I guess, not his argument, but the one he's posing from other people, is that marriage did not work. And man, I think like we're talking in the context of marriage right now, but this is something that I see ripple across many dimensions of life, where he's saying, man, everyone, we see a wild negligence of the garden, and everything and everybody else gets blamed except our own gardening skills.
Yep, that's right.
Which I man, when I get the chance to, and I also people that say, there's a difference in growing old and growing wise. A lot of people grow old and don't grow wise. And you grow wise when you take time to reflect and learn, not just learning from somebody else, but taking time to reflect on your own life and learn. In hindsight, you grow in wisdom rather than just growing in age. And so folks, just because marriage didn't work for people that you may know, or unfortunately maybe didn't work for you, doesn't mean that marriage doesn't work. Marriage works, but you got to work at your marriage. And why I said that it ripples across many dimensions of life is because I see so many times, and I've done it before too, and I'm trying to develop the muscle of not doing this. Is like I say like this: we often deflect rather than reflect.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and I think that's a huge part of what he's talking about with the gardening and the gardening skills. Instead of reflecting on your gardening skills, you deflect to everybody else's, you deflect onto everybody else why your gardening isn't growing well.
Yeah.
It's your fault. It's this, it's that, rather than reflecting on yourself. And men, I'm telling you, and I'll say, Mr. Arthur, before I give it to you, this is one of the things that separates men from boys.
Yeah.
You can remain a boy and have a boyish mentality all the days of your life if you run from responsibility and run from owning. It's not bad to own when you made a mistake. Own it in the term, not that you gotta hang it over your head all the days. When I mean you own it, it's like, I did that. Yeah. I see it. I see the consequences, not just on me, but on the people I say I love, and I want to do different. So yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, it's a very deep. This is the heart of it here. This is like the most important part of the whole thing. Talking about the gardener and blaming everybody else but your gardening skills.
Right.
Why I really like that statement is because it speaks about the male. This is an advice to males. You need to have good gardening skills. And that is why in the manual calls the male in the relationship the husbandman.
Right.
It calls that person a husband. In marriage, we call that person a husband. And when it comes to gardening, the husbandman is the one that is totally responsible to see to it that the right environment is given for the seed to grow, that the right seed is planted at the right time, that the grounds are taken care of, protected. Everything rests on the shoulder of that person's gardening skills. Because your gardening skills, it doesn't stop when you put the seed in the ground. And it doesn't start when you put the seed in the ground. You have to know what is the best time to plant a seed, which moon or how many moons or quarter of a moon. You have to know when is the best time to plant certain seeds, what season you plant the seeds in. And if you don't have good gardening skills, you will think just putting a seed in there, and many men feel that just putting a seed in a woman makes you a good husband, makes you a good mate. You know, the more stallion you are, the more thoroughbred you are as a horse. Talking about physically, your ability to physically have sex. The better you are at sex, the more of a man you are, the better of a husband you will be. No, that's not how it works. I'm sorry. That's just putting the seed in the ground. A lot more has to happen. And so I want to throw something to you here that speaks about the word that I'm thinking is the word mature. Because when you spoke about the difference is you can tell whether it's a boy in a marriage or a man in a marriage. And what you're saying there to me is perfectly explaining maturity. Because a boy is immature. And so the question is, what does it take to have a mature husband? Because you can be a mature man, but an immature husband, meaning you don't have all the gardening skills.
Right.
So you don't know how to take care of a wife. And you can look all over and find good examples of mature men. Men that are businessmen, men that have high-paying jobs, men that are successful in their work, and they have poor marriages. That is not because you are mature in one area, I mean you are mature in every area. Right. And sadly, we are not being trained. Our gardening skills are not properly being trained. So what do you need, sir? You need to make sure that your gardening skills are up to scratch.
Yeah. And that's one more on that point. I think another advice, and I think for us as men, I'm thinking one of the things that can delay the maturity process for a husband is just you learning how to be a husband, not just on your own, but in a community setting, which isn't usually a strong suit for guys. Many times, you know, like again with counseling, you talk to different people, and it's like, man, I just want my husband to share and let me in and that kind of thing. And I do believe they're men, all right. I'm not, there's not a general statement to say that they're not men who are mastering, for lack of better words, how to communicate and express themselves to their wives and family and community and that kind of thing. But I do want to say, sir, I think like what you talked about, you could be a mature man in another era, but be immature as a husband, and to want to encourage men to be teachable in that area, be teachable in that area when it comes to maturing as a husband. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that you said that, because on that topic, I want to warn women that a man being teachable, you don't marry the man who is not ready, who is immature when it comes to being a husband. And sometimes you have men who are immature as men. Mm-hmm. And then while you are married to them, then you want them to be teachable. Mm-hmm. That's not the way how it should work. You should make sure that they come equipped before marrying them. Mm-hmm. So I think the word they like to use is you dodge the bullet. You know, yeah. I just want to say that for women, you don't wait until they get in there and then try to fix them. You don't jump out the plane and then try to fix the parachute. Mm. You make sure the parachute is good before you jump.
Yep. I like it. So you want to move us to our next marker there, sir? I think it's some great conversation we're having around this one.
Yeah, this one speaks about marriage and understanding a little bit of the using previous relationships as a marker to let you know about a person. And so I like this one also.
Many of us have tried to have committed relationships with our boyfriend or with our girlfriend or our boyfriend, and it failed. We have, man, especially if you are celebrities who all their relationships are publicized, so we can literally look at the pantheon of people that you have been with, and every last one of them, it ended in failure, and most of them you were not married to, yet I don't hear you saying being in committed relationships at all doesn't work.
I love the comeback with the argument of you've had all these other failed relationships, but we don't hear you saying committing in a relationship didn't work, but yet marriage doesn't work, you know. And you know, people, like you talked about, multiple partners, all these different things, all these series of dysfunctional relationships, one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other.
Yeah.
And but yet when it came to marriage, it's like, that's not for me. So as you mark this, sir, what were some of the things you were thinking about with this portion of the video?
Yeah, I think this is a good one for us to close this session off with.
Okay.
When you look at a marriage, they are saying that marriage is not good. But what the guy is saying, the gentleman here is saying that you're saying that, but it seems that you did not count all the previous relationships you had.
Right.
You know, as in past videos, we talked about body count.
Yeah.
And you have a high body count. And when it comes to marriage, you might have one marriage or two marriages, but you probably have had 15, as the guy said, body counts or more.
Right.
So why are you blaming marriage and saying that marriage is not good? Marriage as an institution is not good. When you did not come and say, well, having any committed relationship is not good. You know, for somebody that has marriage being their first and they have come to that conclusion, whether they understand how to be a good husband or not, whether the wife had a good marriage, that's their first experience. But if you have been with multiple people before in different relationships that didn't work, why is it suddenly that marriage is bad? You know? And so I like that they use this example to argue that it is not that marriage is bad, and we've been trying to say that it is not whether marriage is bad.
Right.
It is whether the people in marriage are trained. Was the female trained in marriage before the marriage, because her training comes before?
Right.
Was there training on how to choose a good man? How to choose a good husband? Was there training on what to look for? How to examine? How to choose a good husband? Or was it choosing based on his looks, his height, how many earring he has in his ears, what type of car he drives? Was that the way you chose? And then when it comes to the man, was he up to scratch? Was he at the epitome of his gardening skills? Does he understand sacrifice? And if not, then you know, it's up to like luck and fate for the marriage to work or the relationship to work.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, as we're closing, you know, what I'm thinking about today, especially after we talk about this last point, is the fact that, you know what I think, bro, what a lot of people don't like about marriage, why they say marriage doesn't work, it's because marriage puts us in very uncomfortable spaces to face ourselves. It puts us in places where we have to it forces us or pushes us in places to sacrifice, and that's what we don't like. And it reveals things about us that we don't want to talk about or we don't want to admit. And so rather dealing with that, which is a great thing to do, we just say, you know what, to heck with marriage, it doesn't work. And because you see, even a committed relationship, it you know, rarely do I hear, you know, say, hey, Mr. Arthurs, I want to invite you over with your family and your friends. I'm inviting a bunch of people over to my commitment party. We, you know, but a marriage, whether it's just you and the minister, or you have hundreds of guests, it's we have to admit it's more solemn. It's where we all know it's sacred. We just know it's something about it that calls for fidelity. It calls for loyalty. It calls for real investment.
Yeah.
And so of course somebody could be in a committed relationship for years and actually still do all those things. But when you step up to the plate to say I do with somebody, and we go and we do all the different things, and we stand before the minister, even if it's at a court or a job, whatever it is, it takes it's another aspect, another dimension that's introduced that makes you you gotta you know, keep your word. So so I think that's what sets apart even a committed relationship from a marriage. And when you get into a marriage, like I said, and I'm telling you, maybe you've had this experience, you are challenged in new ways, you are pushed in new ways, and you remember, hey, I made a vow, I gave my word. And I think a lot of people in this generation don't like that. They don't want to work, they don't want to sacrifice, they don't want to face themselves, that you are an angry person sometimes, you are selfish, you are irritable, you know, and we don't want to see those things about ourselves. And that my friends, is one of the beauty when the manufacturer made marriage. It is a institution which we step into that will refine us, that will grow us up. But and so it does have, marriage does have what I want to call marriage pains, or I say birth pangs, but it's not bad. And when somebody's training for the Olympics, when somebody's training for some great race or competition, they get up early, they are on a stringent diet, they push their bodies, and it's painful.
Yep.
And you don't hear them saying, I wish I never went through that pain when they won the goal. Because there's a good kind of fight in life and a good kind of pain. And we want to abandon marriage when it gets tough. And I'm saying that's right where we need to be pressing in. That's right there. We need to be doing the work. So, you know, I know it's a very long closing thought, but it's just to say, I think this is a thought that I had. I think marriage is great, and people are abandoning it because it's pushing them to face themselves.
Yeah. I think that is very clear, that there's a difference between marriage and living together. There's a different level. And so maybe I can end with a couple thoughts. To me, marriage is a contract, but it is not just a contract. It's a covenant. So whenever a person gets married, they make a covenant with someone else.
Right.
And a covenant is, let me not go into it, but a covenant is just a part of it. But you also have a contract where there's a signing. And apart from that, apart from this covenant and this contract, there's a thought that comes with it. And I want to do this explanation to give you the thought. Two things comes to mind. If you're gambling and you are drunk with this passion to win, you might gamble and put your house up.
Yeah.
And because of the fun of playing the game, you put your house up. And if you are not put in a place to win, and you don't have the luck, as they would say in gambling, to win, and you lose your house, now it's time to pay. That doesn't feel good. You don't want to stay in that relationship, but you already made a contract. And that contract says that I will put my house up, and if I lose my house. And nobody wants to enter a contract when they are drunk or untrained or unprepared to go in this gambling game. You want to make sure you have the best hand. And so marriage is kind of like that, where people get into marriage hoping it will work and not being prepared. But then they sign a contract. When you don't sign that contract, it's easy for you to break up.
That's right.
It's easier. And I want to talk lastly about this mentality. I remember as a teacher, you had the students that I have never met their parent before.
Okay.
Never seen, especially fathers, never met their parent before. And you have students that every now and again their parent drop in.
Right.
And although I was a teacher who was very passionate about what I did, there was a different level of attention, of care, in how I address a person that every now and again the parent would come in and check on that person, compared to someone that you haven't even met their parents before. You know, I'm committed to all of them, but there's a little extra because I know that sooner or later that parent will come in and check, how is my son doing? You see? And so with marriage, there's a contract. And because there's a contract, there's a different thought, a different level of pressure
that
right. Encourages you to maintain it and to make it work.
Right.
And so I just like to compare marriage to those two different things, but keeping in mind that it's both a covenant and it's also a contract. And hopefully another time we can look at the difference between those two.
Yeah.
And flesh them out, no?
Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Marriage Matters, and I want to just end and let y'all know marriage works when you work at your marriage, all right?
Yep.
Until next time, I am Shane.
I'm Sylburn.
Keep working at your marriage, y'all. Bless.